1977, the USS Enterprise launches a weapon that hasn't changed in nearly 50 years, not because it's outdated, not because something better replaced it, because adversaries still can't stop it. This isn't about technology. It's not about innovation. It's about something far more dangerous, a weapon so thoroughly understood, so completely integrated, so devastatingly effective that replacing it would be downgrade. While China builds hypersonic ship killers and Russia develops supersonic monsters, the United States Navy keeps launching a subsonic missile designed during the Cold War, and enemy fleets fear it more than anything else on the water. This is the Harpoon, America's oldest anti-ship missile, and the reason it's still the most feared has nothing to do with speed or stealth. It's because when every platform carries it, when every ally fields it, when it's been fired in every conflict for 4 decades and works every single time, you're not facing a weapon. You're facing a guarantee. Let me show you why older sometimes means deadlier, and why the missile designed to sink Soviet destroyers is still sinking ships in 2026. The Harpoon entered service in 1977 aboard USS Enterprise. Nearly 50 years later, it arms surface ships, submarines, and aircraft across every ocean. The numbers tell the story. Over 7,500 Harpoons have been produced. More than 30 countries operate them. The United States Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, and Marine Corps all deploy variants. That's not a weapon system. That's an ecosystem. The RGM-84 launches from surface ships. The AGM-84 launches from aircraft. The UGM-84 launches from submarines. Same missile, 3 launch platforms, ensuring every American asset can engage surface targets regardless of domain. An FA-18 Super Hornet spots an enemy destroyer. It fires a harpoon from 70 miles away. A Los Angeles-class submarine detects the same target. It fires from beneath the surface. An Arleigh Burke destroyer receives targeting data through Link 16. It fires from its vertical launch cells. 3 platforms, 1 weapon, coordinated through network architecture that turns individual launchers into a distributed strike complex. The missile itself weighs 1,500 pounds, measures 15 feet long, and carries a 488-pound blast fragmentation warhead. It flies at high subsonic speeds, roughly Mach 0.85, staying low over the water to avoid radar detection. Critics say that's slow. They point to Russian P-800 Onyx, traveling at Mach 2.5, to Chinese YJ-18s accelerating to Mach 3 in terminal phase. But speed without accuracy is noise, and Harpoon doesn't miss. The guidance system combines inertial navigation, GPS, and active radar homing. The missile flies a pre-programmed route toward the target area, drops to sea-skimming altitude, then activates its radar seeker for terminal homing. Sea skimming means the missile flies 10 to 50 feet above the water. At that altitude, radar horizon limits detection range to roughly 20 miles for most ship-based systems. By the time defenders see the missile, they have less than 90 seconds to react. And 90 seconds isn't enough. Modern warships carry close-in weapon systems, rolling airframe missiles, and electronic warfare suites specifically designed to stop anti-ship missiles. They practice against targets simulating Harpoon flight profiles. They still can't reliably stop them all. April 2016, USS Coronado and USS Independence conducted a live-fire sinking exercise against the decommissioned USS Thatch. Multiple harpoons struck the frigate, which remained afloat despite catastrophic damage. That sounds like failure until you understand what it proves. Thatch had no crew, no power, no damage control teams fighting fires and floods. It was a sealed steel hull absorbing explosions without the cascading failures that sink operational ships. Real warships have people, they have fuel, they have ammunition magazines and electrical systems. When a 488-pound warhead detonates inside those systems, ships don't stay combat effective. July 2006, Lebanon. Hezbollah fired a Chinese-made C-802 anti-ship missile, a reverse-engineered Harpoon variant, at INS Hanit, an Israeli corvette. The missile struck, killing 4 sailors and crippling the ship's combat systems. The C-802 is functionally identical to the Harpoon. Same guidance concept, same sea-skimming profile, same warhead class, and it nearly sank a modern warship with active defenses. That's why adversaries fear it, not because it's fast, because it works. But the Harpoon's dominance isn't just about the weapon, it's about the kill chain supporting it. The missile requires targeting data. That data comes from satellites, reconnaissance aircraft, shipboard radar, submarines, and allied platforms, all feeding information through networks designed over decades of integration. An E-2D Hawkeye detects surface contacts 300 miles away. It transmits coordinates through Link 16 to destroyers, cruisers, and submarines. They calculate firing solutions, launch harpoons, and guide them toward targets using over-the-horizon targeting. The enemy knows missiles are inbound. They don't know from where, how many, or which angle of attack. That uncertainty is paralyzing. Defending against one missile from one direction is manageable. Defending against 8 missiles from 4 platforms, all coordinated, all arriving simultaneously from different vectors, is nearly impossible. And Harpoon's deployment across every platform means the United States can mass fires in ways adversaries cannot counter. The Block 2 upgrade, introduced in 2004, transformed the weapon from dangerous to devastating. Block 2 added GPS navigation, mission planning, and waypoint programming. Now missiles don't fly straight-line approaches. They execute dogleg routes, approaching targets from unexpected directions. A destroyer off the coast launches a Harpoon program to fly north, then turn east, then south, striking the target from the opposite direction of the launching platform. Defenders see the missile coming from the wrong angle. They calculate firing solutions based on incorrect assumptions. By the time they realize the deception, the warhead is detonating inside their hull. Block 2 also added autonomous target acquisition. The missile searches a designated area, identifies valid targets using radar signature matching, then selects and engages the highest value threat. Launch 10 harpoons at an enemy task force. They autonomously distribute themselves across targets, avoiding redundant strikes, ensuring maximum damage rather than overkill on single ships. No human coordination required. The missiles decide. The Block 2 Plus upgrade added better GPS resistance, enhanced electronic warfare protection, and expanded targeting options. Because adversaries learned to jam GPS, they developed spoofing techniques feeding false coordinates. Block 2 Plus missiles ignore jamming, maintain course through electronic attacks, and arrive on target regardless of what countermeasures defenders deploy. Cost is another advantage adversaries can't match. Each harpoon costs approximately $1.4 million. That sounds expensive until you compare it to the targets. A Chinese Type 052D destroyer costs roughly $600 million. Sinking it with 2 harpoons, total cost $2.8 million, is extraordinary return on investment. A Russian Slava-class cruiser represents billions in construction and decades of operational experience. Destroying it with $5 million worth of missiles makes economic sense even if half the missiles miss, and production infrastructure ensures the United States can sustain high-volume strikes that adversaries cannot. Boeing produces harpoons at facilities designed for sustained production during prolonged conflicts. The supply chain, tooling, and expertise exist to rapidly scale output if needed. Russia can't replace lost ships quickly. China's shipbuilding capacity is impressive, but outpacing requires years of construction. America can replace expended missiles in months. That difference matters in extended conflicts, where magazine depth and production capacity determine who runs out of weapons first. International adoption multiplies the threat. NATO operates harpoons. Japan fields them. South Korea deploys them. Australia, Singapore, Thailand, Egypt, Turkey, and dozens of other nations integrate them across platforms. A Chinese task force entering contested waters doesn't face just American harpoons. It faces Korean, Japanese, Australian, and Taiwanese harpoons, all compatible, all networked, all capable of coordinated strikes. The standardization means allied forces train together using identical weapons. Tactics developed by the United States Navy transferred directly to partner nations. Logistics are simplified because everyone uses the same missile. and targeting data flows seamlessly between allies using common communication architectures. A Japanese P-1 maritime patrol aircraft detects Chinese surface action groups. It transmits data to Australian warships and American submarines. Everyone fires harpoons within seconds. The enemy faces simultaneous attacks from multiple nations, all using the weapon system they've trained to defeat, but never successfully countered in combat. The upcoming Block 3 upgrade adds even more capability. Extended range, potentially exceeding 150 miles, improved seeker discrimination, better target recognition algorithms, and integration with unmanned systems. MQ-9 Reapers will carry harpoons. Unmanned surface vessels will launch them. The missile becomes even more distributed, even harder to counter, because now the launch platforms don't risk human crews. China develops defenses against harpoons launched from ships. Then they face harpoons from submarines, then from aircraft, then from drones. The defensive problem never simplifies because the launch options keep multiplying, and upgrading existing inventories is cheaper than developing entirely new weapons. The United States has 7,500 harpoons. Even partial upgrade programs affect thousands of missiles. That's a substantial capability increase without the cost and risk of new designs. Compare that to developing a replacement. A new anti-ship missile requires years of testing, billions in development, new production facilities, new training programs, new integration across every platform. Then you discover problems in operational use that weren't apparent during testing. Then you spend more years fixing them. Or you upgrade Harpoon, you use proven airframes, proven guidance, proven warheads, you add GPS, you improve software, you enhance seekers, and you deploy capability in months rather than years. That's why the Navy keeps ordering them. Not because they can't build something better, because better is theoretical while Harpoon is proven. Russia learned this in 1982. Argentina fired Exocets, French missiles based on similar concepts to Harpoon, against British ships during the Falklands War. HMS Sheffield sank. HMS Glamorgan was crippled. The lessons were clear. Sea-skimming anti-ship missiles work. Defenses struggle to stop them, and even near misses cause catastrophic damage through blast effects and fires. 40 years later, those lessons remain valid. The missiles got smarter, the platforms got more diverse, the networks got more sophisticated, but the fundamental effectiveness of subsonic sea skimmers hasn't diminished because physics hasn't changed. Radar horizons still limit detection ranges, reaction times still constrain defensive responses, and warheads detonating inside ships still sink them regardless of how advanced the targeting was. China and Russia chase speed. They develop Mach 3 missiles requiring exotic materials and complex propulsion. They accept reduced payload and shorter range in exchange for velocity. America keeps launching Mach 0.85 missiles that cost less, carry more explosive, fly farther, and work every time. Speed is impressive. Reliability wins wars, and when the shooting starts, commanders don't want theoretical advantages. They want weapons that kill targets without drama or surprise. Harpoon does that. 50 years of operational use, thousands of test firings, multiple combat employments. Continuous upgrades incorporating lessons from every deployment. That's not a legacy system struggling toward retirement. That's a mature weapon that keeps getting better. The oldest doesn't mean obsolete. Sometimes it means refined to the point where replacement offers marginal gains at enormous cost. And in naval warfare, where a single missile can decide fleet engagements, mature reliability outweighs experimental performance. The Harpoon is America's oldest anti-ship missile. It's also the most deployed, most integrated, most combat-proven weapon in its class. And while adversaries develop countermeasures, America keeps launching them because countering one missile is possible. Countering 50 coordinated strikes from unknown platforms is mathematically improbable. That's why it's still the most feared, not because it's exotic. Because it's everywhere, on every platform, in every theater, ready to launch from places adversaries cannot predict. And when you're an enemy warship operating in contested waters, knowing Harpoons exist is terrifying, because you can't know which platform will fire them, when they'll arrive, or if your defenses will stop them all. 50 years old, still deadly, still feared, because some weapons don't need replacing. They just need more missiles and more platforms to carry them. And America has both.